God's truth never changes, but the brokenness of this world is constantly presenting us with new challenges. And that's where you find ethics. How do you apply the unchanging truth of God's word to an ever-changing culture that is expressing its brokenness in a lot of different ways?
It is a YPS season.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Listen.
What does YPS stand for?
Youth.
In a day and an age of acronyms.
Hey, Youth Pastor Summit. You got me on that. Man, this is why you're my brother, because you have a great way of just throwing me off of my game. It's easy to get distracted. But the YPS stands for Youth Pastor Summit.
Yes.
Which, bro, we are so excited in our shop about, especially.
Yeah, it's a fun time of year.
Yeah, man. This time of year, this season, this new paradigm that we're in.
What is Youth Pastor Summit, in case somebody doesn't know?
Well, brother, it is 2 days.
Is it just for youth pastors?
Oh, no. It is for educators. It's for volunteers, youth leaders, next-gen pastors, man. Anyone who is ministering to the next generation, Youth Pastor Summit, it is for you. And it's something now. Okay, so I've been a part of our amazing team for almost 10 years now.
Oh,
Yes. I'm coming up close on 10 years.
I remember when I was your intern, man. I remember when I came along.
Those details are a little fuzzy because I don't remember
I was so young. You'd been here about 5 when I came along.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was going to ask you, Youth Pastor Summit
Started
before I
throwing
got
these
here.
years out. I started feeling old.
Yeah. Because you were here running Youth Pastor Summit before I got here, and so
thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. Just thought it. But what we say? How long has Youth Pastor Summit been going on?
Almost 30 years. Yeah.
God, man,
we're in our 27th year.
That is phenomenal, brother. And so we're in it now. I mean, this is the time of year we're about to launch off. We're kicking off at Southern California, man, on the 24th. And so we thought it'd be great, Brent, just to talk to our audience, about one, Youth Pastor Summit, but then two, as we're walking into this new season, how we're approaching Youth Pastor Summit that we've never done before. Something that is really, really kind of event altering, as we talk about a new paradigm, something that we believe will really kind of carry us into maybe the next 30 years of Youth Pastor Summit. And I got to tell you, I am excited about it. The momentum is incredible. People are talking about it, and people are excited. And so we thought, man, let's just kind of take the next couple of weeks because of the fact that we are walking into a new season and we're wanting to do something where we're really addressing. We've always done this, but in a more formulated scope and sequence. But where we're really kind of addressing annually real-time challenges, trends, issues that this generation is facing around like 4 unique questions and topics. And so we thought it'd be great that, we can, walk through the 4 questions and topics, maybe one episode at a time, just to kind of give people a sneak peek of what they can expect when they get ready to walk into Youth Pastor Summit.
Well, I think there's also a leadership principle at work here. You and I love the book, The Leadership Challenge by Kuz and Posner.
Oh, man.
Which is in its 7th or 9th or 425th edition by now.
And every edition, it gets better and better.
I mean, it was the most substantial at the time kind of study on exemplary leaders in the marketplace. And they really, in a way that, and this is, I think, the strength of the book, is they kind of boil it down to these 5 their findings into 5 categories. But one of the things they said is that great leaders are always willing to challenge the process.
Yes. Yeah.
And so Youth Pastor Summit has been a gathering, 2-day gathering typically, of people involved in next generation ministry. And when we say next generation ministry, that in and of itself is a little bit of a loose term. But we're primarily focusing on those who are involved in middle school, high school, college age ministry even. And that the conference is built for you. But like where I was preaching this weekend, Jeff, I had a children's pastor come up to me.
That's
and
awesome.
she was like, "Hey, I'm bringing my whole team."
I love
and I'm
that.
like, "You can't. Give me your name. We're taking you off the list. Your band." No, I'm just kidding. No, but that, I mean,
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Now she knows that we're talking about a kind of an age bracket, if you will, and and focusing on people who lead and disciple in that age bracket. But one of the things that we've done the last year is we've said, okay, Youth Pastor Summit, which Dr. J. Strack founded almost now 30 years ago, has kind of evolved into a nationwide a set of conferences that span nationwide from coast to coast. Now, we'll talk about Youth Pastor Summit National Conference this fall another time.
Yeah.
But as it has evolved, one of the things that you want to do, I think, as a leader, is go, okay, as the audience gets bigger, let's make the bullseye more clear. What are we aiming at?
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what these 4 ideas are, questions are. And so we're going to talk about just one this week, but at every Youth Pastor Summit, and it's not a bad paradigm to think about with your leadership development. It really is a reflection on our core philosophy of leadership here at Student Leadership University, but we're focusing on who are we becoming. That speaks to our spiritual formation. What story is God telling? That speaks to the mission of God in this world and how we are involved. How should we think? That speaks to ethics.
Yes.
And why and how do we influence? Which, of course, speaks to both the motivation for and then the necessary skills and characteristics of leaders and leadership. So Youth Pastor Summit is we orchestrate the event, as we create as we bring in people to preach and to teach and to everything's fallen under one of those 4 categories of spiritual formation, God's mission, ethics, and leadership. And so I just think it's always important, because we're trying to come alongside a generation and help them think, dream, and lead at the feet of Jesus, to go, hey, we're trying to practice what we preach.
Right.
So we're trying to challenge the process.
Yes.
We're trying, as we continue to grow, to go, man, here's our aim. As the audience gets bigger, our bullseye gets smaller.
Yes.
And so what are we aiming at? What are we trying to accomplish? What is our goal? And the result of that, and if we're being, just in full transparency, this is coming from those who have allowed us to serve them for a long time, saying, hey, and they're pointing out, here are the areas that we need to focus on so that we're better equipped to come along this generation and to make much of Jesus. So that's kind of where we're headed. We got 5 cities this spring to choose from. And so we have obviously Southern California and Dallas, Texas, and Nashvilleian.
They call it Nash Vegas.
Nash Vegas, Tennessee, and then, 4 cities, and then Raleigh, North Carolina. And Raleigh, North Carolina is a new city for us.
That is
very
super excited, man. And the registration has been phenomenal.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, man. Shout out to our brother Daniel Rose and the North Carolina Baptist Convention.
So we have over 1,000 people right now registered. That peanut butter spreading across 4 cities. That'll balloon up. And we're in that season where now all the registrations come flooding in. So there will be hundreds and hundreds of youth workers gathered at each and every one of these gatherings, or each one of these cities, excuse me. So Youth Pastor Summit, it's going to be very exciting.
And the beauty of these 4 questions and topics that we're building around, Brent, I think as you kind of mentioned this already, is we know this is going to be ever evolving, right? And so every year, we're going to approach these topics in real time. And so as we looked and, we get, in the shop and start planning and dreaming and just kind of seeing what the Lord would have for us to kind of present to our audience, man, we're looking at, okay, what's some hot topics, around the idea of spiritual formation, around the idea of God's mission, around the idea of ethics and leadership. And so I thought it'd be cool, brother. We just had this big ethical conversation.
You want to jump into ethics?
So since that's one of the questions that we're really going to always be challenging, and as we're raising, we're raising the question on how should we think? Why? Because we live in a world where there's a lot of ethical dilemmas that our culture and society is dealing with. And so I think, one, We want to, we're acknowledging, we're going to ask the question, but then two, what I'm excited about is that we're intentional about some of the people that we're going to have to speak into that topic. But I think, as we were talking about that, if I was to ask you, okay, Brent, why this question? Like, why is this one of the 4 questions? I mean, we can ask leaders a lot of questions, or we can raise a lot of questions. Why this topic? Why is this topic so important as far as it relates to how should we think?
Yeah. Well, the short answer is because God's truth never changes, but the brokenness of this world is constantly presenting us with new challenges. And that's where you find ethics. How do you apply the unchanging truth of God's word to an ever-changing culture that is expressing its brokenness in a lot of different ways?
Yeah.
The word, I'm going to be really honest, Jeff. You ever get something stuck in your head?
Yes.
I can never. I have a degree in ethics, and the word ethos. Which one is it? Ethos or ethos?
It's ethos.
Ethos.
Yes.
Okay. So ethos, logos, pathos.
Yes.
I'll forget it. I'll forget it in 60 seconds. Yeah. I mean, but ethos.
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 Yes.
So the word ethos, pathos, logos, the rhetorical triangle. Goes back to
that's it.
Remember that from school?
Yeah, I do. That's a phrase.
Goes back to Aristotle, who was a student of Plato, who was a student of Socrates, who were the 3 Greek philosophers who would shape intellectual thought that would determine much of Western society. And of course, ethos,
yes,
logos,
yes,
and pathos. Come out of that, but the word we're talking about is ethos. That's where we get our word ethics from. That speaks to the moral character of a culture. And so when we talk about ethos or ethics, we're talking about applying moral principles. Now, moral principles don't change.
Right.
So any ethics discussion is going to say that. Moral principles, we're going to apply these principles. So for us, those moral principles are found in the moral understanding of the will of God, the desired will of God. But moral principles to a real life question, to a real life scenario, to a real life moral dilemma. And so as people who care about next generation ministry, we're always going to be doing this.
Yeah.
And the great challenge of student ministry is how are you always forward thinking enough so that you're ready to give an answer for the hope that lies within you in the face of this question. Like we talked about gender in our previous episode, but whether it's anything in sexual ethics or give it 4 years and we'll have a lot of political questions. Sadly, give us another, there'll probably be another environmental issue. There will be a I'm going to just use this one just as a weird example. There'll be a volcano that explodes and destroys something, and there's going to be questions that come up about what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to respond, but how are we supposed to think and where are these resources going? There will be issues that come up that relates to somebody's going to attack somebody. Right now there's 2 wars that have dominated the headlines for the last year. Between you got the Ukrainian-Russian war, you've got Hamas and Israel, which praise God there's this temporary ceasefire that keeps. We're going to hope that it holds and that all the hostages come home and that there's resolution and all the things, but there's going to be questions surrounding war, and that's why it's important to understand things like the just war theory and what is the validity to that and how does that apply. And so I'm just giving a handful. Social media is going to bring about 1,000 different things up. Which goes into the broader category of technology. Entertainment's always going to bring questions up, and to Swift or not to Swift. I mean, there's always
that is the question.
There's always ethical questions, and so as somebody who is involved in next generation ministry, one of the great challenges is to make sure that the foundational beliefs of a biblical worldview are firmly in place so that you can properly think about the ethical issues as they arise. Was that too long?
No, that's
answer?
perfect.
I apologize
No, that was perfect. I mean, because as leaders, that's what we're called to do. We're called to think critically, but also biblically, and understanding. We think about the idea of ethics and ethical reasoning, but ethical reasoning is not just about knowing what's right or wrong, but it's also understanding how to apply that with wisdom, and like how to really apply that with wisdom to like complex issues or real time issues. A lot of things that you brought up, like how do it's because I think it's layered. I think we just say, okay, you think about ethics and morals, like I know the difference between right and wrong. Yeah, but what I love about what we're doing at Youth Pastor Summit is we're not just, it's easy to identify right or wrong, but hey, let's try to help you learn how to apply. Here's some examples of how you can apply this wisdom.
Yeah. How do we codify the wisdom?
How do we codify? Right. Yes.
Okay. So, for example, one of the things we teach at SLU 201, Jeff.
Yeah.
Dr. J, if you ever listen to this, I wish you wouldn't have done this to me. But, I wrote my master's thesis. Boy, that makes me sound like a nerd and old. But I wrote my master's thesis on an ethic of decision-making within one's freedom in Christ. I wrote it. And Jay was like, hey, I want you to share that at 201. And I was like, Jay, nobody wants to hear this.
Yeah.
I wrote it just for me. I just was trying to figure some stuff out. I was wrestling in my own head, and this was a way to get academic credit for something that I was trying to wrestle with. Yeah. And he went, I know, but I think it's helpful. I went, I'll do it because you're my boss and you're telling me, but one and done. And so because I'm a storyteller, and I got up and I did this almost 90-minute, like, oh God, I just wanted to apologize to the students in advance. And it has become something that we have to teach every year at 201. It's our Chasing Elephant session, which gave way to the book, which gave way to this podcast.
Yes.
This is something that, but Chasing Elephants, that session, that ethics, in how do you make decisions according to the moral will of God using the freedom that God has given us. There's 16 questions, but how you apply those, there's 16, in other words, moral principles that have been turned into the format of questions. How you apply those, that's doing the work of a practicing ethic. I tell our students, an ethic's pointless unless it becomes a practicing ethic. Yeah. And unless it becomes a working ethic.
Yes.
So it's, okay, codifying. Okay, take the truth of God's word. Let's formulate that into either a set of principles or questions, and then exercising. Yeah. So codifying and exercising. Yeah. Let's exercise it in a way that it becomes a working ethic, or in a way that we're helping people to use it in their own life as a working ethic.
Yeah, man, I love that, because in essence, what we're having, if you are a leader who's investing in this generation of students, it is biblical ethics versus cultural narratives, right? Like, what are the cultural narratives that are out there, and then how do we help them, how do we help them, one, understand, things through a biblical worldview and biblical ethics, but then be able to kind of engage those cultural narratives that are out there. And I think that's what is so very important, especially now, Brent, in today's society culture. If you are a youth leader, a Christian school educator, if you even are part of a homeschool network, man, you are having to have real-time conversations that are centered around cultural narratives that are out there. And so I think, this question that we're addressing at Youth Pastor Summit, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think it is vital and essential.
Yeah. I think it's going to be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever context you're in, whether rural, urban, big city, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is a topic that you need to be at Youth Pastor Summit to learn about, and to be in a room with some thought leaders and practitioners who will help you even engage questions that are more personalized to you, you know. I mean, one of the things I will just say, as a youth pastor who came to Youth Pastor Summit, I always appreciated to be able to have the access to the practitioners, to be able to ask the question that was relevant in my context. So you take that, you take that reality of who we are and what we provide through Youth Pastor Summit. You now couple that with the intentionality of, you know, creating a scope and sequence around the questions of ethics and how we think. I just think, Brent, man, I if I sound excited, it's because I am. You know, like I'm
me too.
super excited about where we're headed with this, because there are so many. We get the questions all the time. How do I handle this? How do you do this? How do I address this? You know, I remember, some youth pastors asking the question. We were hosting some youth pastors at one point, and they were kind of just talking, and it came up the question of overnighters when you have someone who is transitioning, quote unquote, you know, like gender issues or transgender issues. Someone who's transitioning, their parents want the child to attend this overnighter in camp. How do you handle that? 1, do you let them go? 2, where do you room them? 3, you know, do you tell the other parents and students? You know, I mean, there's so many questions around it. What's the ethical way that we handle this, you know, and then also lead with grace and respect. And so it was from a conversation like that, you know, and we both can rattle off 15, 20 other of those types of moments we have. And I say all that to say that as we get into these types of conversations at Youth Pastor Summit, I think that's why we all agree this is one of the categories that we're always going to be kind of working through and processing.
Yeah. And just to give, you know, as I think through people I've looked up to that have done this well, you know, our friend Dr. Sean McDowell does a great job at this.
Love that dude. That's my guy.
Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Because he does this actually on his channel, I think, better than anybody I've seen in short, quick answers. But if I were to say, describe him, I'd be like, Sean, you're an apologist, but you're an apologist that always gets to, you know, ethical questions. Like, and when you listen to students ask him questions, and, you know, we've used him or been fortunate to partner with him for many years at Student Leadership University, both 101 and 201, Youth Pastor Summit. Does a phenomenal job. Last year we had Dr. Bill Brown. And so it's, this is, you know, and then this year I'm really excited that, and I've not heard him in person. I've never met him in person.
Oh, this is gonna be a good one, buddy.
Dr. Christopher Ewan. Now I've watched him. Oh God, I've seen 8, 9 things online over the years, and have a deep respect for him. And this isn't the first year. You know, I'm glad he's able to come and to share this year. But he'll be teaching, and that's and of course, much of what he teaches falls under that realm of sexual ethics. And of course, I don't want to take anything away. I don't want to, but his story, which he'll share, which I mean, there's a lot there. And the lane he runs in and helping to serve the local body was born out of a really tough past and a lot of pain, and so you know. It's just exciting to go, okay, what are the needs? How are we going to address them? And how is a youth pastor, a youth worker, or somebody going to walk away with this ability to think about that specific need?
Well, here's the thing. All right, so because I feel like I'm just gonna speak for myself. I'm super amped up, and to the point where I might give away too many extra nuggets. And so, because like, I mean, there's so many things, honestly, and I'm not just saying it, but there's so many things that I think this year in particular, as we begin to launch into this new paradigm, there's so many things that I think our attendees are going to be pleasantly surprised as a way of content,
Right.
as a way of the practitioners and thought leaders that are presenting the content and all the other things there. But I say all that to say that I acknowledge that my excitement is oozing.
Yeah.
And so we might have to put a pin there right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's what we're going to do. I think, Brent, it'd be great to kind of give some context around the spiritual formation, God's mission, and also leadership conversation, just so, as we've been talking about, so our audience understand, they'll see these questions on our website through promo pieces and all that stuff. But, just take a little more time each, the next couple of episodes to really kind of unpack that. If that's good with you, man.
Man, you kidding me? Yeah. Where you lead, I follow.
Oh,
but I would say this, for everybody, all of us as followers of Jesus, it is not enough just to know why we believe.
Yeah.
Right. That's a really important question.
Yeah,
In fact, one of the most important questions.
Yeah.
Why do I believe in Jesus?
Right.
That's the work of apologetics.
Yeah.
How do you apply
That's
that
it.
belief? And that's many times both the work of applied theology, but also ethics. In fact, ethics is a form of applied theology.
It is.
And so, this is, no matter where you are in the journey, this is really important, which is why we've created some of the resources we have, which is why we have some of the material we have posted online, and much of why SLU exists to help you think, dream, and lead. And so the think part's a big deal.
Yes, sir.
And whether you're a student and we get to come alongside you, or whether you're investing in students and we get to come alongside you, we're going to learn together.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about learning together at Youth Pastor Summit.
Me too, man. So here's what I will ask. I got a personal ask. Students, if you are listening to this, I would love for you, if you don't mind, to ask your youth pastor, youth leader, hey, have you registered for Youth Pastor Summit? And if they haven't, take them to their computer, go to sluleague.com, click on Youth Pastor Summit. It's super, super easy to register. It is really our gift.
Yeah.
It is our gift to youth pastors, youth leaders, next gen pastors, educators, and volunteers. So students, if you would do that for us, but also leaders, if you haven't registered, please make sure you register, and we'd love to see you, love to hang out with you.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So until next time, my friends, I am Jeff. This is Brent.
Wander well and shine like stars.
Take care.